Welcome everyone to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com. And as always, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode. And I'm so excited. We have Dr. Jenny Tufenkian back with us. Her newsletter just came out the other day. And a couple of things about it. I was having flashbacks to 2020 when we had high smoke here in our area. In fact, in the newsletter she reminded me of this that we were off the charts. I think the chart goes to 500 or something about how toxic smoke is hazardous, extreme hazardous. And this just went off the charts. We were way past 500. As I was reading the newsletter, I finally just said, Jenny, you got to come on the show. So welcome, Dr. Jenny. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
And at the time, back in 2020, to me, it was very localized, although the prior year, I think it was just the prior year, maybe 2 years before that, I'd had friends go through the Napa fire and actually fled for their lives. And then now we're back here. We have had some smoke, not like 2020, but then just a couple of months ago, I'm thinking about how the whole East, Midwest, and East Coast was blanketed, and then poor Canada's on fire. And Brazil and Greece, and I'm just like, let's talk about and I
Maui. Yeah.
wanna yeah, Maui, absolutely. Let's talk about I wanna talk about what to do when there's smoke in your area, really bad, this kind of smoke, which is different. I know air pollution's bad, but when you get this wildfire smoke, it's pretty bad. 'Cause your newsletter mentioned it, and it flashed me right back to it, what I'll call the PTSD of living through some of these climate events that are very different for the majority of us. Just share your story about what happened this week when we had us compared to 2020. I'll say minor, but I couldn't go outside.
Totally. Yeah, it was totally minor. I saw smoke coming in and my alarm started to go off. Part of me, I'm one of those planning people, and I tend to be really good at making sure everybody has snacks and water, and no matter what situation I'm in. So, of course, my planning brain kicks in terms of what are we going to do now that the smoke is coming in? But I have to say, as soon as I started to think about smoke, there was this absolute, and especially when I woke up in the morning, I saw that orange sun sky, that particular glow that happens when
With
there's
the beige background.
exactly the beige background. And it's like, oh no. What happened, even on a level I wasn't even conscious of, and this is a piece that I hope we get to talk about more today, because I think we're all experiencing this, no matter if it's smoke or some other piece of climate anxiety, is that it is unconscious response. My body, just thinking about smoke, seeing the smoke, and as soon as I smelled the smoke, it triggered something that hit my limbic brain, my emotional brain, and my whole physiology began to shift. And I could tell that I was going into a stress response because I started to awfulize. I started to think, oh no, what if this gets as bad as it was in 2020? And 2020, I feel it in my body now. Of course, it was completely layered. I was already locked in to my house for the pandemic. My relief was to go outside and to take a walk multiple times a day, to look at the trees and the flowers and to admire my neighbors' gardens. Now I couldn't go outside. I'm just like,
Oh,
well,
oh,
sure.
we were under a level 2 evacuation order, for about a week there of the local fires. And yeah, when I read your story in your newsletter today about eco anxiety and talking about 2020, I do, even though, as I said, the smoke here was minor and luckily a offshore wind came and blew it out. But I do have that, oh no, awfulizing moment of here we go again.
Right. And I think why it's important to talk about this is because we had that experience in 2020. We also had the heat dome, I think later that year, where it
Yes,
was the
it is.
hottest place in the planet, Portland, Oregon. Who would ever thought it was 117 degrees here? And we're seeing this everywhere now. And I think that the more that we understand how we can take care of our physical body, but also take care of that emotional and energetic body in these times, it's going to empower us because it's not, I hate to break it to you, but it's not going to become any easier in terms of what's happening in the environment. This is just where we're at. And I don't think that we need to freak out about it. I think that we can use our mind and our body and our smarts to do strategic things, be prepared, to put certain things in our body, to take stuff but also to know how to use our conscious mind to impact our physiology so that autonomic nervous system doesn't have to go on freak out. Or when it does, we can recognize it and acknowledge it and do something to soothe ourselves in this time so that we really can be of service in an emergency. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I want to backtrack just a little bit. I know you've shared with me. So when we go into these emotional freak out modes, just
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the body does shift. Like you had mentioned to me prior to this, as we were just chatting about how the liver is not as effective if
Right.
our autonomic nervous system. So the
Mhm.
behind the scenes nervous system, if it begins to get stuck in anxiety and freak out mode, it affects your other organs, so then you can have all sorts of cascade problems, especially if you have an autoimmune condition.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. There are many things that shift in your physiology in your body when you go into a stress response. And a lot of those stress response are meant to protect you. It's in order so that you can run from the saber-toothed tiger. So it shuts down your more broader thinking creative brain. It helps you narrow focus in on I'm going to run over there and helps you focus in on that. It shunts your blood away from some of the organs that you don't need for running from the tiger as much and shunts them into organs that you need. It goes more into your muscles and things like that so that you can run from the tiger. And those are some of the things that we know that a lot of people know about it. But what a lot of people don't realize is that these stress responses are meant to be short term. A lot of us in our chronic long term stress. And if we have chronic long term stress, a lot of us with chronic illness, autoimmune disease, and stuff, we've experienced chronic stress prior to getting the condition. And then the condition adds on a layer of stress. And then if you add on an additional acute stress of, oh no, smoke onto that body, it begins to do a couple things in a very deep layer. And I'll just talk about three of them because there's so many that do them. But one is what you're talking about is the detox pathways to your liver literally don't work as well. You're not able to process the toxins from the smoke, the heavy metals in your body, the plastics from the thing that you heated up the other day, the takeout that you got in that plastic container that got a little bit too soft. Your body's not able to break those down as well when you're in that stress response, which is fine if the stress response is 20 minutes or a couple hours, but if it's weeks and days and months, it begins to really impact how toxic your body is, and that can have a cascading effect as well. The limbic brain is wired to protect us and it's always surveying your surroundings. Is it safe? Is it dangerous? Is it safe? Is it dangerous? Again, those of us that have experienced any kind of autoimmune chronic disease, we're already more wired for danger than people who aren't experiencing that. And that probably set the body up to be more susceptible to getting autoimmune. And it makes it so that the body once you have the autoimmune condition, it triggers the brain to feel less safe because you don't feel as good in your body. This limbic brain, when you are in that autonomic nervous response, it's like going, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm getting more reasons why I shouldn't feel safe." And it's gathering that data and it's using this as a trauma experience and it's really making a very clear picture, which is what happened to you and I in 2020 with smoke is that we made a very clear picture. This is really dangerous. This is really scary. We feel powerless. It doesn't feel good in our body, and we don't know what's going on. We don't feel like we can do anything. And so, you and I, this last weekend, both felt that same thing, even though the air quality wasn't that bad and it only lasted a few days. Our body at some point didn't understand that it really wasn't that kind of a condition. And that's what happens when you're in that stress response. It's like your brain is taking a picture and picking up all the feelings and the picture of that image and storing it. So, should you be in that dangerous situation again, you will recognize it and be able to get out of that dangerous situation.
But I was catastrophizing this last
Right.
weekend. I'm looking and I'm reading, okay, I think it got up to 180 on the scale, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the scale goes somewhere around 500. And I know in 2020 it was like 800 here in
Yeah.
the Portland metro area.
Right.
I remember the news saying the worst, the most polluted place right now in the world, Portland, Oregon. And I'm like, holy cow, we're known for eco-friendly, all, clean organic, and now we're the most polluted place in the world.
Yes.
So my brain's still stuck on that. Although I did learn some things from that, and I was in the process of moving, and my catastrophe brain did go overboard in a way because I got a whole house filter plus air filters in every room now, so I'm
Yeah.
probably one of the most filtered houses in the neighborhood. But then again, when it happened this weekend, yes, my brain's, "Oh, no, I can't go outside. I can't do my walk," catastrophizing. But then part of me, oddly enough, was like, "Yes, but my house is probably still the most filtered place in town." So it was weird, okay, I'm stuck inside right now. Brain was making all this catastrophe all around me.
You did one of the really great things in 2020 that then built some confidence for you to handle this situation because your sounds like your brain was split this last weekend in the smoke. Part of your brain was going, "Oh no, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. Oh no, here it is again." And then part of your brain was going, "No, wait a second, Sharon. You actually took care of this last time. You made your house safer. You got air filters in here. You know how to take care of yourself. And you did a good job with that." So you were in both this last weekend because you did what I think is one of the most important things we can do, no matter what hard situation we're in. When we take action to do something to better that situation, that creates a confidence that then becomes part of that confidence competence loop, right?
Mhm.
Does that make sense with what? Yeah. So
Yeah,
you took action instead of just being in 2020 going, "Oh no, I can't do anything. I'm just gonna just absorb all these toxins in my body." You took action with the tools, resources that you had, and you did something about it.
and I think the thing which was interesting between 2020 and now as well was in 2020, it just seemed that it kept ongoing and ongoing for several weeks.
It did.
And in one place in us that may I know we're heard worldwide, they might not understand. One of the things that we can do here locally, if there is a small wildfire or something going on, is escape to the coast.
Mhm.
It's just a couple of hours away, and all of a sudden, the entire community is down at the ocean side. And a lot of times now anymore, I'm noticing as the climate's changing, that's not an option. To me, a lot of the old rules are being broken about what do we do? And it seems like I'm having to put into place new understandings of what's really going on. And I'm thinking of my friends who lost everything in Napa, and I have friends, I used to live in Lahaina, and I have friends that lost everything there. It really is beyond, we've talked about our own issues and our own localized things that we were doing. For me, though, there's an overriding anxiety that's happening to my greater community as well.
Yep.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about some things that we can do for our own health. And then also we'll talk about supporting other people's health. One of the things that I always like to have things to do. That's Jenny knows that's give me something to do. At least I'll feel like I'm making progress, even if it's a snail's pace. And in the newsletter, you were writing about, you mentioned air filters.
Mhm.
You also mentioned a few other things that people can have in their toolbox. First, talk about your toolbox because you are a great proponent of Dr. Jenny's toolbox. So introduce them to the idea of a toolbox, and then we'll talk about some of the things that we can put in there for not only when it's real eco anxiety, like it's real happening, like smoke,
Yeah.
or if it's left over from a previous trauma.
Toolbox is what it sounds like. It's a toolkit. I know when I used to bike, my dad could take part a bike and put a bike back together. And so we always had bike tools. And when I got my first 10 speed, I had this little toolkit so that I could, if I was riding my bike, I could fix a little thing if something came off when I was riding my bike. And I always liked that sense of empowerment that I can ride further and farther and be independent and get myself back. It's before we had cell phones. And I honestly feel like it's the same thing with your health. The more that you know what your body needs and you can be prepared in situations, then it gives you more resilience. If you're struggling with chronic illness, you can go further. You can do more things if you've got your toolkit so you know how to take care of stuff if your body starts to have a freak out. And the situation with the smoke, so I feel like there's a toolkit for the house and there's a toolkit for your body. So, toolkit for where you live would be air filters. I would encourage you to purchase the best one that it works with your budget because air filters are great for filtering smoke. They're also great for filtering mycotoxins, viruses, chemical exposures. There's a lot of reasons to have an air filter in your home. And so getting one that filters 0.5 microns is really important. So there's a couple brands that I find do that better than others. So just be sure you're getting an air filter for what you want. The second is a piece of tape because I live in an old Portland house and a lot of my windows were leaky. And I found just having tape to tape up those windows made a huge difference. Did you tape up your windows in 2020?
No, I have a newer house, but I had friends that they were pulling out the moving tape.
Totally. Yeah. The painter's tape, the packing tape, any kind of tape to tape out those cracks, that made a massive difference in the air quality in our home.
I'm glad
And
you mentioned painter's tape, by the way. I just want to, you're right. The packing tape would probably take this.
it would rip up that. Yeah. Then you have another project. Yeah. Painter's tape worked really well around all of our doors and windows and so that's what we did for that as
I also
well.
want to mention about the air filters too, though. So I have, like I said, I went overboard and I have several in my home, plus the one in the furnace. But during 2020, what I did was I had friends and family that didn't have one. So I actually took some of the portable ones over to other people's homes so they could have it. But I find if you only can have the budget, it only allows for one, get one that fills perhaps one room, like maybe your master bedroom or something like that, and having a safe, secure location, even if the whole home can't be modernized or filtered.
I think
Is
that's a great idea. I was going to say the same thing. I actually did the same. I shared out some of my filters with friends and with neighbors and family so that other people could have some of the fresh air. And I totally agree. It's the same thing for people who have that hot house and they have the AC in the one room. Or if, or when the power goes out, you make the one room that's warm and has light in it. Same thing. So just have a safe room and have it be the room you sleep in because that's when you're breathing in the most air. And also have it be the room where if people experience smoke sickness, they can go into to clean up their lungs. Before I had air filters everywhere, like you, we had one air filter. And I remember there was a summer where my son was out teaching sailing. He was teaching other kids how to sail boats for summer school, summer camp. And he got really smoke sick and came home with headache, a little bit of nausea, dizzy, woozy, just felt out of it. I put him in our basement. It was the coolest place in the house. I put the air filter down there. I diffused some essential oils and I just had him stay down there for a day. And it was enough time for his lungs to just breathe in that fresher air, to breathe in those essential oils and to start cleaning out his system.
yeah, and remembering that cleaning out is really important to understand that give yourself the best opportunity to heal and repair these
Right.
onslaughts so a flare or something else doesn't incur
Right.
based
Right.
on building on the trauma.
So just one other thing I would say for the house kit is I think diffusing essential oils can be a great thing to have on hand because they're a really great way to reduce some of the pro-inflammatory things that happen when we have toxins that go into our lungs. And often when you're talking about toxins, we forget that the lungs are a way that we actually release toxins as well as take things in. We know that if we breathe smoke, we're taking toxins in, but also breathing fresh air is a way that the body will release toxins through the lung. Same thing happens if you have anesthesia after surgery. They have put some of that anesthesia through your lungs into your body. If you want to get that stuff out of you, soon as you're strong enough and able post surgery to do some really strong, deep breathing like that just really helps get fresh air in your lungs and out. You can do the same thing if your lungs got filled with smoke. Once you're in a place with clean air, whether you go to the beach or if it's in your basement with air filter, you get that air in there. It helps clean it out.
Now, for you that not on video, then that watched Jenny's show, that how you really compressing your chest and then releasing your chest, I'm just telling you, that's what she did. So if you're on audio only and wondered what that little gap was,
That little Darth Vader sound was.
that was like some extreme deep breathing where you're breathing like 360, your whole rib cage is expanding front and back, and then pushing it out, just really like a sponge, where we've got the sponge fills up and then let's wring out the sponge kind of thing. So
But that was nice. I like that sponge image. That was good.
2020 was an eventful year for many of us, and I got pneumonia. That's where I learned that a technique of what's the pulmonologist called the 360. I think I'm a shallow breather to begin with, and then putting some illness on top of it is not good. Taught me about expanding your rib cage front and back, and if you don't normally do that, it's a very odd feeling. I'm sitting up straighter when I do it, and how and I remember this so well. Now, let your belly expand. Nobody's looking at your it's not like your belly's getting fat. Just let your belly not surprised yet. I know that's not the normal way I breathe. How big your lungs probably are when you fill them up, because I felt, percentage-wise, quite a bit bigger when I'd actually let my lungs fill up completely.
And that's exactly why that kind of breathing is so therapeutic. One, to get us practicing to breathing better if there is some kind of something going on with our lungs. But it's also why doing that kind of breathing helps your body detoxify, is because there's a lot of air in our lungs that just stays there. It doesn't, because if we're not forcefully expelling it out and we're not forcefully bringing in new air into all of that space, it's just there's just like the kind of old air just hangs in there. You think about a stagnant room and then you blow a little tiny fan in one section, you can imagine that fan is making create movement in that one little area, but there's all this other air in the room that's just there.
Cluttered closets come to mind when you say that. I'm thinking of let's just close the closet doors and cluttered so our lungs have all these cluttered closets.
Right, right. That just passively diffuses through the tissue when it feels like it. And so if there are toxins in there, they just passively diffuse into your tissues and go into your bloodstream and everything, which is why get them out. Get them out when you can. Get them out early. Get them out often.
Now, I want to backtrack and go tangential for just a second, because you
Sure.
mentioned essential oils.
Yeah,
I want to put a big asterisk by that, because there are not so good essential oils, and then there are premium essential
for
oils
sure.
that are you can breathe in and diffuse. And I think sometimes people think if it's got a fragrance, it's okay. And I want to say no. So Jen,
Yeah.
your speech on essential oils and
I
clothing.
really appreciate you saying that because that's so true. So there are a lot of essential oil companies out there. Some of them are fantastic and some are not so great. And some think they're good and they're not. And here's the deal, it's really easy for essential oils at some point in the process to become polluted with something, whether they're intentionally diluted so that people can make more money somewhere in the scale from the farmers to when you get it in the store, or whether it is just that the plants that were used themselves had toxins and had metals or other pollutants in them, and those are in your oils. So, whatever essential oils you use, make sure that they've been tested to be a grade that you can use them at a pharmaceutical level. There are a couple companies that are doing this. Usually they tend to be some of the bigger companies that do this and test their stuff to the level where it is pharmaceutical grade so that I feel confident using it as a physician where I'm prescribing it to patients. That's what I recommend that you use. Now, that said, I do think that there are some of the smaller companies that can't afford to do all the testing that the bigger companies do and are probably do a good job with things. But please be sure you really know that they're good before you take them into your body, either whether you're breathing them in, whether you're putting them on your skin, or whether you're breathing them in, I'm sorry, whether you're breathing them internally, putting them topically on your skin, or using them internally into your body, taking them in through your mouth. You need to be sure that they're super, super clean grade.
Yeah, absolutely. That because I've had people, just because it has a scent doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a thing called fragrance or perfume, and if your dish soap says perfume or fragrance, it means that it's an artificial scent. It's made from petroleum, and most of our bodies experience that as a toxicity.
Oh, wow. I did not know that was the secret word for that. Okay.
Perfume or fragrance.
That's one of those.
Perfume.
Yeah, we could go down that rabbit hole. I won't right now because down a rabbit hole. We both do. But just the idea of when some people say, "What the package said, all natural." Well, yeah, oil is, petroleum is natural.
Right,
It comes out. It doesn't mean it's good for you just because you can put the term natural on it.
exactly.
Anyway, we need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to do a better introduction to Jenny. I was so excited to see her. I haven't seen her in a while. Let's just jumped right in as if you all knew her. So let's take this commercial break. And when we come back, I'll do a better introduction to Jenny and we'll get some more of her great ideas for combating not only our eco anxiety, but making our home safe and comfortable during these times. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I think the information that Dr. Jenny Tufenkian is offering us tonight is global. Anybody can use it anywhere, and especially this talk about the smoke that we're having. It's not just localized to our area, which sort of provoked my PTSD and interest in having Jenny on, but it seems to be worldwide. And I know I didn't give her full justice, so let me read her bio really quick because she's an awesome person. It's Dr. Jenny Tufenkian, and she's been treating chronic illness for 2 decades and has a complex chronic fatigue herself. She has really dug deep into her own wellness and her own well-being and literature and uncovering the root causes of chronic fatigue. That's what she's known for. Through her research and experience, she developed an effective system to unlock the 5 core energy drainers from going from too exhausted to functioning. And so she shares the system with her clients and as a practitioner in online programs and in person. As you've seen, she has a lot of secret superpowers, which I just love about her. She's a licensed naturopathic physician and primary doctor, and she got her training and residency at the National University of Natural Medicine. And she is really sought after, especially for people with chronic fatigue or what I'll say are like vague. They've never put a label on it. Something's really wrong. She's really able to take one of her superpowers is to take you coming in and saying this and this, where other caretakers or physicians might roll their eyes and it's in your head. Dr. Jenny is fabulous. She takes you seriously and she loves to jump into the research and unravel all of those vague things until they make sense. Thanks, Dr. Jenny, for being on the show. I so appreciate you. We've been friends for quite a while now, and we've been talking about the eco anxiety and the smoke, and we talked about air filters in our home, taping the windows, and then also about essential oils. Let's shift gears a little bit. And when we're having some anxiety, and I'm going to say if you're having an autonomic nervous response, it may not be environmental, but some of the tips and techniques you shared in the newsletter, which, by the way, everybody go to Dr. Jenny's website and sign up for her newsletter. Dr. Jenny, remind me, what is the URL?
drjennytufenkian.com.
And we'll have that on Understanding Autoimmune so you can know how to spell her last name. It really smells like how it sounds. It's all phonetic. But anyway, we'll have that over at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, I was reading through the list of the things we can do for ourselves when we're having this eco anxiety, and or maybe it's like real. Our body's saying, sure, there's smoke.
Let me just back up and say too about your body can have anxiety to smoke that is partly from your brain thinking, oh no, here we go again, that awfulizing brain and getting triggered. And when you're in a lot of pollution, it's literally a physical response of this is not, it's like that animal that's running from the forest fire. We've all seen that deer tearing with the fire behind them. There's an animal in us that goes, this is not safe to, and it's just the chemoreceptors in our brain are going, no, this is not get out. And so there is this very physical protection thing. For me, I wasn't experiencing that level this past weekend, but I know that I was in 2020. It was literally a physical response to the intense amount of chemicals that we are all being exposed to. And so I just want to honor that there's that physiological piece that's very real. And for some people who have asthma or emphysema or something are dealing with pneumonia, they really do, that really is a sign that they do need to get into fresh air and maybe even drive and get into a different space. So just want to honor that.
You know what's so funny? Because
Yeah.
I started to have a flashback when you mentioned that. I took a trip abroad to one of the most polluted places in the world. I knew that, but I never internalized it till that time, where I remember after a day or two that just breathing it, it felt like I was chewing on aluminum foil. Oh, yeah, it was awful. And I remember one of the things they told me, and it causes flashbacks. It was, when you go outside and have to breathe, hold water in your mouth and then you spit it out. And I'm like, you can't do that. It was impossible to hold water in your mouth for any length of time without the autonomic nervous system freezing out and everything. I'm going tangential here, but I'm just had a flashback to those moments of when I spent a month in an extremely polluted environment. My body still, as you were talking about it, my body just reacted to that.
So for if you were in that situation now and you had to stay there, you couldn't leave, then that's a really good time to bring in those tools that we talked about. Make sure that at least your bedroom had clean air, that the windows were taped, you had the air purifier, the air filter, and all that, and that oils you were breathing. Some of the other things that you can do that really helps detoxify you is water, drinking water. And I don't know about holding it in your mouth. I'm not sure that about that, but
Is
drink.
the idea was that if you hold the water in your mouth, somehow the water would filter it, but I never saw that it worked.
I don't understand how that's going to work because you're you're breathing in and it goes into your lungs.
I know, it didn't make sense, but actually it activated my autonomic nervous system. There's something about holding water in your mouth where even more than a few seconds just holding it in there, your brain is, "What are you doing, Sharon?"
Now I feel like I'm gonna choke. Perfect.
Maybe it's the distraction model, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe,
I don't
maybe.
recommend it, everyone, I don't
No,
recommend.
I don't either recommend it. But drinking water really helps. The solution to pollution is dilution. So drinking water, hydrating, it helps flush toxins out of your body. You release them through your bowels, through your kidney. Staying hydrated is super important. Taking antioxidants can be really valuable at that time. Vitamin A has a big affinity for the lungs. It can be a really nice thing. Or eating more of the yellow and orange vegetables can be really nice for the lungs as well. Antioxidants such as turmeric can be really great, resveratrol. There's a lot of tons of antioxidants out there that you can take. Eating higher antioxidant foods, your blueberries, your pomegranates, your red beans, oddly, have huge amount of antioxidants in them. So these are some of the things that you can do to help support your body and help your liver and take things that are supportive for your liver to detoxify. Even just putting a squeeze of lemon in your water really helps the body, your liver move from phase 1 to phase 2 detoxification pathways and move toxins out. You have to think about sometimes the smoke that we're in contact with isn't just wood smoke. When you and I were in 2020, there were fires all around us. There were fires in California. There are buildings being burnt down. That means all of the materials from the buildings are being turned into this little tiny dust that we're breathing into our bodies. So there's a lot of toxicity that our bodies need to continually be releasing now that we've had that exposure. And so supporting your organs of elimination are super valuable to help you with that.
Okay, so let's go over the organs of elimination. Obviously, the liver, the kidneys, the bowels, the bladder. What else?
So the lungs actually are considered an organ of elimination, right? And that's now why.
Yeah, we know
Now
what.
you understand that and think about it as that is actually a way we release toxins is through breath. So deep breathing is a valuable thing to bring into your daily practice of just setting your timer a couple of times a day, doing 10 big belly breaths. And the other one is your skin. Doing some sweating is great. Epsom salt baths, saunas, getting a good workout if you have the energy for a good workout. Sweating is great. Doing some kind of gentle skin brushing towards your heart every day can be a really great way to gently detoxify so that your lymphatic system is functioning normally. Your lymphatic is like taking your garbage from your kitchen out to the driveway so the garbage truck can come pick it up. It really helps your body be much better at eliminating toxins.
Fantastic. Now, this question's just thinking about it is bringing up a lot of trauma, but
Okay.
for smoke and other things like that, do we pull out the N95s again?
Yes, we do. And I really think, honestly, that's when I first got N95s was when we had smoke. And it wasn't even 2020. It was before that. I had a clinic and my favorite trail up in the gorge was burning. And Portland was just showered in ash. And I got a whole bunch of N95s at that point and handed them out to my patients because I could tell it was hard on our lungs to breathe. And so, yes, bring out those masks. I know I was wearing one on the weekend, and as I was driving in the car with my husband, it's really easy to get smoke sickness. And those of us that have a sensitivity to other things may become more sensitive to smoke. And if you've had previous smoke exposures, your tolerance level may be lower for smoke. And so I wanted to err on the side of caution for myself and protect my body and wear the mask. so that I could continue to stay as healthy as I am.
Oh, it's a good point, yes. Overcoming my aversion to wearing the N95
I know.
versus what are the long-term effects. Okay, Sharon, you're gonna wear it for 20 minutes in the car. Get a grip. Versus
Totally.
being sick for a number of days or setting my overall health back. It could be weeks or months.
Right. Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, I'll pull the thing out and actually,
And then I know we really wanted to talk about this whole mental emotional toolkit. Like, what is that toolkit that you can bring in into the moment so that you can shift yourself out of this stress state into a state of more health and vitality? You can feel like you're feeling stressed and anxious and acknowledge that's what you're feeling and acknowledge it. And then you can honestly choose to go into another place.
let's go for it. I'm ready.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
I've got my
Okay.
seatbelt. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So here's the thing. You can do this in it's super 3 easy steps. And what you can do is one, just once you become aware of what you're feeling, a lot of our unconscious anxiety and stress things are just right below our conscious awareness. Start understanding when you are getting that stress response. You may start recognizing certain thought patterns that are coming into your head, maybe negative voices. It may be behavior where you're starting to get more cranky or irritable, you're snapping at your children. These may be your signs that you're going into your stress mode. Sharon, what are yours? How do you know you're going into your stress? Your autonomic nervous system is starting to freak out.
Actually, I get really cold, and it's
Uh-huh.
just that I get chilled. I'm like, oh, all of a sudden, especially my fingers get really cold. I'm like, okay, breathe, Sharon, what's going on?
So that's another one of the things that happens when we're doing that is that our body shunts away the blood from our peripheral, from our toes and our fingers. So cold feet, cold handed people, cold nosed people,
Yeah.
and it's going to the primary organ. So we stay alive at this stressful time. So that
I'm
is
so funny you say cold nose because I have family members that always just come and touch my nose. Oh, cold nose. What are you doing? I feel like the local puppy. So anyway, let's talk more about stressor response and not my fact that I have oftentimes a cold nose.
so if you notice you have a cold nose or notice you're being cranky or irritable, or that you're all of a sudden have to run to the bathroom because your diarrhea is kicked up, or that you're feeling nauseated, tight feeling in your stomach, like you don't feel safe anymore, you're feeling like you want to hide. These can all be typical kind of stress responses, anger, hiding, all these kind of behaviors. Acknowledge what you're feeling. I'm feeling scared right now. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel anxious. Whatever it is that you're feeling, acknowledge that this is what you're feeling at this time. And then the next step is really important. Choose, decide if you want to shift it. A lot of us are addicted and used to our states of being in our kind of not so happy, negative little boxes, self included. Like I do this too. Like I get used to being this certain way. And part of me doesn't want to change because even though I'm not happy here, it's easier. I want to be different. I don't want to be in this state of anxiety right now. I want to be present in this moment, in my body, to myself, to my family, to my loved ones. So you can choose change. And then the third is picking up something out of that toolkit of yours to shift your mood. There are a lot of them. I go into this in different programs I've done and different talks. I'm just going to share like two of them right now, just for time's sake. One is one of my favorites because it's so fast. I'm going to share three. I can't stand it. Okay. Three.
Go
If
for
you're
it.
feeling anxiety, the number one thing you can do is just feel your feet. Literally. If you just feel your feet right now, I'm doing it right now. If I just feel my feet, it helps orient me back into the room, into my body, into this space. And that can be really helpful. The second thing is to look around the room and just quickly look around the room and see if anything grabs your attention. It could be a color of a spine of a book. It could be a flower. It could be the way the light's coming in through the window. Anything that catches your attention, you go, I like that. Just focus on that and feel your enjoyment of that thing and bring that joy into your body. And that can really help you. The other thing is to use your breath. We've talked about breathing a lot today, but your breath, just doing the seal box breathing, breathe in for 4 or 5, then hold for 4 or 5, breathe out for 4 or 5, hold empty for 4 or 5 can really help. And also breathing in some of the essential oils. The essential oils that you like the smell of go straight to your limbic brain and literally can shift your brain out of that fight or flight into a sense of safety. One of the really great ones for dealing with anxiety is wild orange. That can be a really nice scent for a lot of people to shift their anxiety. They've actually done studies on this to help people. So I think I snuck in 5.
I I wanna sneak in one too. Mine's might be probably more kinesthetic, but I find if I'm just totally freaking out, take a shower.
Yeah.
Just love the feel having just standing there, just dripping all the way down. It helps, shift my sensories, this and maybe because my one reaction is I get cold, something about standing in a nice hot shower changes the temperature of my body for sure.
I totally agree with that, Sharon. For people who I've had the same experience as you've had where my autonomic nervous system has gone to a freak out point and I get really cold. It used to happen to me years ago before I figured out a lot of the stuff that I do with myself now. And sometimes the only thing I could do was to get into a hot bath. And I found getting the hot bath and warming myself up. And also, I have really positive associations with hot baths in terms of just enjoying it as me time.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. As you could tell, Dr. Jenny and I could go on and on, but we are just not out of time. Share with us. I know you've got a lot of opportunities for people to get in touch with you, get your fantastic newsletter, as well as some free gifts, and share about your masterclass that's coming up because I've attended those and they're awesome. I've learned so much about myself and my being and interventions before. I've told this story about before. I'm not sure people understand it was Dr. Jenny who taught me this. One time I went to her and I was freaking out because I was having a flare. And she taught to me about Sharon, we've been climbing this mountain together. And when we first met, you were down in this valley pretty bad. And now you're way up this mountain. You've only slipped like a step or two. You are not down in this valley. And I've always used that metaphor in my brain to remind myself. Jenny and others, plus the show and all the people, amazing people I've met, have taught me all these tools. And Jenny shared several of them today that can keep us or get us back up when we slip a little bit, but you're not back down in that valley where you started, everybody. So, Jenny, tell us more about all your offerings because they're fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. It warms my heart when I hear you say that is of value to you. And I just think it's such a good thing. If you were out there struggling with complex chronic fatigue, long COVID, you don't feel like you're getting the answers and what we're doing here, and you feel like you want to do some more work with me, I've got a couple of different options this fall. If that's interesting to you, you can check out on my website. I have a free webinar masterclass coming up this fall on how chronic viruses impact our energy and our immune system. And that's going to be happening. So if you're interested in that, just go to my website and check out and get onto my email list. You'll get emailed. If you're trying to figure out why is it that you're so tired, I literally took the algorithm I use in clinic of discovering root causes for people and I turn it into a quiz so that people can go through and take that quiz and it pops up what are some of the likely root causes for you as to why you're struggling with fatigue. And that's totally free. You can just jump on and get that quiz. The master class is going to be free as well. And for those of you who are interested in doing more intense one-on-one work with somebody right now, just go ahead and check out my clinic at enjoyfulhealth.com. If you're interested, you can see what I'm offering there. I'm really only bringing on a few people who are ready to work in an intense 6-month period with me. And this is telemedicine or in person. So if you're like going, oh my gosh, that's what I need, then you know it's you. Feel free to reach out. We can chat and see if it's a good match.
Absolutely. And Dr. Jenny, spell your Dr. Jenny Tufenkian website too, because in Joyful Health, I think I got that one. That's at joyfulhealth.com. That's her clinic. But she also has her personal site, which is absolutely brimming with all sorts of great information too. So spell that one, please.
Dr. Jenny, T as in Tom, U, F as in Frank, E, N as in Nancy, KIAN.com.
Fantastic. And I'll have that over at understandingautoimmune.com in the show description on all the social media sites as well. So everyone, that's Dr. Jenny Tufenkian. Thanks so much for sharing with us this timely topic about what we can do to keep ourselves safe when there is an eco problem in your area, as well as what we call eco anxiety and what I'm calling eco PTSD. Because like I said, that even that minor smoke from just a few days of it brought back the panic of 2020. So everyone, stay safe, Join us next week and have a great week, whatever your adventures. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes.